Well, if you saw my video on the Georgia Guidestones, you know that I promised that I would do a follow-up on who the Rosicrucians are. Supposedly the Guidestones, which have some very interesting statements made on them, a little bit like a mini Stonehenge. Well, a lot of people have had some opinions about what it is and who created them. A man by the name of Rosicrucean, which is a fake name, contracted them. Even the people that built it don't really know who that person was or who was responsible. So I'm going to share some information from Wikipedia and the actual current Rosicrucians just to sort of give you an idea of who they are. But here's what I want to share with you. I have a little mind-blowing announcement for you as to why I posted that video in the first place. You want to hear it? I think you're going to find it interesting, and I hope it gets you to think a little bit about how we interact with each other and why the world is the way it is. Let's go. Welcome to Landria Onkka on YouTube. Here to help you break through your fears and live an amazing life. Everything I do is to help people break past the fears, because fears are limitations. Fears are what keep us from going into the space of total abundance, health, awakening, love, and total respect for one another as one. When we have fear, we go into separation. Now, I did a video on the Georgia Guidestones where there are some statements on there in regard to a possible future world and what that might look like. Now, when I read them off, I didn't share my opinion either way, because I'm going to tell you the truth. They're just statements on stones for me. We control our destiny. And so what I want to share with you is when I shot that video, I watched the comments coming over to see what would be said. Now, many of you who heard me say that I didn't see anything negative in the statements and that who knows who wrote them and who cares, many of you said, you know what? I was told they were bad, but now that I see them, I'm not seeing anything negative either. That was my whole point. Where are we getting this negative information that there are bad people and this means that and that means that? I want to share with you what I hope you'll consider. And that is, if you are listening to anything, any group, any video, any channel that tells you that there are evil people out there and that we should oppose them, they are the source of opposition. And that is equally as dense as the people doing the bad stuff out there. When we interpret things negative and we get hung up on it, we start reading things and this is what that means and this is who they are. Somebody even said, she's one of them. One of what? I don't know what they were talking about. We become separate and we point fingers, and that's the density of humanity. I have to tell you something. I was absolutely surprised and very pleased to see that most people actually saw the positive in the statements and not as a threat. You see, so many times we like to interpret things, and I'm going to share with you in a moment who the Rosicrucians were according to Wikipedia and a couple of other places, including the current ones, because we can interpret anything we want in any way we want to, and none of us has those answers. None of us knows anything about anybody else, the origins of things, why people use certain things to gain power over others. No one has the answers of the universe. And so when somebody tells you that there's an enemy, I'm thinking they probably are the ones who truly are the source of that. Now, the first statement on the Georgia Guidestones was to maintain the population at 500 million. If you are in fear and negativity, you will see the world that way. Two people can walk in a room and see two completely different things, interpretations. I've shared those stories with you before, where I would go in a room and say, this is great, and a friend would say, this is horrible. Our reality is whatever we're choosing. And you can take anything and interpret it as something negative. And I'm going to share with you what the Rosicrucians supposedly were, if they even really existed at all, and how other organizations have used some of these, let's say, manifestos and laws to create their own, which is not the original Rosicrucians. So, are they bad guys because somebody takes something and distorts it? Well, you could say that about the church or any other organization. We also can say it about ourselves. Are you taking something that has absolutely no meaning at all to it other than what we create and turning it into something negative? The first statement of maintaining the population at 500 million for me meant I don't know what it means, except for they may be speaking of a future golden era where cataclysmic things on the planet may have happened that will reduce the population, not through extinction. And the joke about that is we kill each other every day, and we're sick because we're poisoning ourselves, and we're worried about somebody extinguishing us, exterminating. That's sort of funny. We're our own worst enemies. When we stop fighting, this will end. When we start respecting the planet, like the Georgia Guidestones suggests, then we will have a balance and unity and be able to express ourselves without people pointing fingers and saying really nasty stuff that does no good for any of us. Can you look at everything and just maybe sometimes say, I don't know? So, Georgia Guidestones, I don't have an opinion, because here's what I believe. You and I control our future, our present, and that future, because no one, including Nostradamus or Edgar Cayce, who, by the way, specifically said, future is malleable, and nothing that they said had to come to pass, because we are totally in control of changing anything that was predicted. In fact, most of the stuff that they predicted has not come true. I believe we're going into a higher frequency. I believe we are going into a golden era. I think it's already started. The new earth is starting, and many of you are seeing that. And then there's others who see a nasty world. It's a personal choice. So I had fun with the Georgia Guidestones. I had fun with the response. I don't need more information on it. All I know is I'm creating my reality. Nothing in stone or a book or a prediction tells me what my future looks like, because you and I have free will and we can use it. So let's go in. I'm going to read a few things about the Rosicrucians just for fun, and let's just conclude and say none of us has those answers. All right, you ready? Let's go. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to read is from Wikipedia. It just says Rosicrucianism is a spiritual and cultural movement that arose in Europe in the early 17th century. It's pretty old stuff. After the publication of several texts that purported to announce the existence of this order to the world and made seeking its knowledge attractive to many. It was mysterious. In fact, most people think that this isn't even real, that these were doctrines built on esoteric truths of ancient past, concealed from average man, provided insight into nature, the physical universe, and the spiritual realms. Pretty cool stuff. They don't elaborate extensively on the matter, but clearly combine references to Kabbalah, Hermeticism, alchemy, and Christian mysticism. What's that mean? Who knows? It's the manifestos heralded a universal reformation of mankind, a reformation of mankind through a science kept secret for decades until the intellectual climate might receive it. Yeah, we aren't ready for it. So controversies arose on whether they were a hoax, whether the Order of the Rosicrucians, existed as described in the manifesto, and whether the whole thing was a metaphor, disguising a movement that really existed but in a different form. No one to this day actually knows whether they're real or not. So I just have to tell you, the original Rosicrucians was built on peace and reforming the planet to something really very spiritual transformation. And it's promising a spiritual transformation at a time of great turmoil. So guess what? We're in it right now, and it was actually meant for a time to take us into a golden era when we're ready to hear it. Now, what are the Georgia Guidestones? They're stating something in the future, supposedly a new world order, of a positive one of welcoming diversity, respecting one another. Is that so terrible? But guess what? Who cares? Do we really care? Because no matter what this says, you and I get to pick our future. We create it. And somebody says, you are wearing those rosy glasses too often. What, and your choice is to put the dark ones on? Is that what you want? I should be seeing the world as a nasty place? I won't join you. You and I are going to live in different realities. You get to pick. So I just wanted to share this with you because the whole thing that I presented was basically to show you that we don't have answers, but how quickly we believe that what we believe is right and that what you believe is wrong, and that we will argue about it. That's not the new earth, my friend. Did you do that? Most of you didn't. And some of you had to argue your points, and you don't have the answers. And the people you're listening to, they don't either. I don't. All I know is I get to create an amazing world, and that's all I'm going to focus on. If you want to join me, come on over. In fact, you can come over to the Miracle Circle. It's a monthly membership. If you'd like to join us, come on over. Go to landriaonkka.com. I've got new things I'm posting, including I'm doing one-on-one coaching. Whether it's your business, your spiritual life, your goals, anything you want, come on over. Let's work together, and let's put the rosy-colored glasses on, because if that's how I live my life and I see it as beautiful, then that's how I will choose to live my life. And nobody can tell me any different. You're whole and perfect, strong and powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. Blessings, my friend. I'll see you in the next video. Let's continue to have more fun. Namaste.